So one of the important things about open data from my perspective is there's a huge amount of information that the government collects. It's not personal data, but the real value in all of the information we collect is not just collecting it, but its reuse. And if you look around, the real fantastic opportunities exist for new businesses to emerge, for new technologies. I actually think as a decision maker, one of the important parts of open data is to engage others with that decision making process. So whether it's civil society, whether it's local government, whether it's businesses, actually the ability to connect and make decisions based on data that's openly available is a great opportunity for all New Zealanders to make sure we have a better country and a better future.
In a democracy, I think it's very important that the ultimate power comes from the people, and we need to hold the government accountable for their actions and for their performances. And so this transparency is, I think, crucial for our democracy. And so next time we get to vote, we can make an informed decision, and therefore it helps us as the public, as voters. At the same time, also for the decision makers, everyone that's working in government, everyone that has to deal with making these difficult decisions in this complex sort of environment, helps to open data will help to kind of increase that transparency and ultimately lead to better decisions.
I think there's an opportunity for chief executives to lead their departments to adopt an open by default approach for data. That's when basically you assume that data is open and can be made available unless there's a really good reason for it not to be. That will require a change in culture, which I think the chief executives need to lead. And they'll need to understand the value of open data and ensure that their departments are set up, resourced, and have processes that will enable that to happen.
Stories are best told in a visual form, and I want to add also that data visualization works on an emotional level and both on an abstract level. And working on this emotional level helps memorize and relate to that data, and we can provide context with visualization, and so that's why it's again very powerful.
So when you start visualising it, you can be lifting up those raw numbers into a form that's really easy to digest and to immediately start understanding what the patterns and trends are. And it means that it actually helps us to start knowing what questions to ask and where to follow our nose and what directions to go in. Like often when you look at data, you don't just suddenly get all the answers by seeing one data set or one data visualisation, but it's surfacing parts of a story that you can then go, oh, what about this? What about that? And so it just makes the speed of getting stories a lot faster and more accessible to more people.
Open data is important because the whole field of data journalism is based on the assumption that there will be data available which we can analyze and look at. Without having open data, there would be no data journalism. So data is the source for all our stories. We don't go and talk to people, we analyze data sets. So essentially that is the building block for a journalistic product we produce. So open data, whether it's coming in forms of spatial data, sensors, if it's available, we can go and do things with it. So open data is the central thing for us.
So the open data, I suppose, is the tool that we use to bring the communities together. What we're trying to do is have people understand other people. And in our world, that of course is the technical world and everybody else, you, me, and everybody else who has no idea how they create these things. And when we bring those people together around open data, for instance, so they can see the value in the stuff they already own and how that can be transformed and created into web apps or businesses or videos or stories or whatever is created in a hackathon, then in the future they know that they can do something themselves and they know who to go to.
And it's because there's so many pieces of data that can be used for just normal decision making or understanding our country. So say you're a 7-year-old and you're writing a story and you might say, I got a new Labrador on the weekend. To be able to say, oh, there's 46 Labradors in my town, or there's more Border Collies than Labradors, in using numbers as a way of understanding our world. Or it could be that a tow truck driver in Hawke's Bay says, oh, should I get an employee or a contractor? Is this a seasonal change or is this just growth in my business? So just people that aren't used to using data because it's been too hard to find, they don't even know it's there, being able to go, oh, how can numbers be used as a lens to understand, what's going on around me? And so there's so much wonderful data that's been collected in New Zealand, just literally thousands and thousands of stories that we're all starting to kind of surface now that the technology is there.
Well, fundamentally, it comes back to those numbers represent something, and what sits underneath that is the story. And what you're trying to do with the data, with those numbers, is try and find what that story is. So even if someone's not numerically literate, they will know someone who is. And it's a matter of trying to understand, to get to the bottom of what that means. And then from that, you've got to drive out the action. What are you going to do with that information? So you don't have to be a statistician to be able to go through and make a bold statement about something. But you do need to get help from someone to help you work out what it means, how you're going to use it, and then actually looking back, how can you measure if what you did off that data was a success?